So NASCAR season is back, and I'm sure many of you guys are planning to attend races this season. Whether you're planning to explore Bristol, Darlington, Chicago, or your home track, I think all of us can agree that navigating race day can be stressful. Fortunately, there's a product that can help make your race weekends and road trips more convenient. Carparide specializes in high-quality CarPlay for both cars and motorcycles. The people at Carparide supplied me with its 903 product specifically designed for cars. The 903 comes with two different mounting brackets: the mounted sticker bracket and, my personal favorite, the suction mount bracket. The product also has a cutting-edge 9.3-inch touchscreen. This means that while you're on the road, you have a lot of technology within arm's reach. Whether you have an Apple or Android device, you can actually connect your smartphone to the Carparide 903. However, if you're one of those guys that has a BlackBerry, the Carparide 903 has built-in navigation and voice controls. When I was using this product, I was blown away with how convenient it was to look up and get directions to my destination. Plus, this product features two high-definition cameras. There is one built-in 350-degree rotating camera and a rear-end clip. This is the perfect product whether you're vlogging your NASCAR experience or you're trying to monitor all of the action around you as you're trying to leave the racetrack. So look, I understand that race traffic can be stressful and you can often be stuck in the same lane for hours on end. With the 903's built-in speaker, you can listen to your favorite NASCAR podcast. By connecting your smartphone, you can actually watch digital gas house videos while you're stuck in traffic. With its wide array of features, the Carparide 903 is the perfect product for NASCAR fans. If you're interested in purchasing the 903, be sure to click the affiliate link in the description below. Plus, if you use the coupon code GASHOUSE, you can get 30% off of your order. I'd like to give a special thanks to Carparide for sponsoring Digital Gas House, and now, on to today's video. Memorial Day weekend is truly a holiday that has a different meaning for everyone. For some, it's sentimental in remembering friends and family that were lost in war. For others, it is the ultimate weekend of leisure and degeneracy. Then there's us niche motorsport fans that most remember Memorial Day weekend for what takes place on Sunday, which is hailed as the greatest day in racing. The Sunday of Memorial Day weekend is an extravagant day-long affair. Monaco in the morning, Indianapolis in the afternoon, and Charlotte for the longest night in racing. The latter event has been NASCAR's long-standing Memorial Day weekend tradition since the 1960s. In many ways, I would say that the Coca-Cola 600 is a fascinating race. Not just because this is NASCAR's longest race and it is demanding both physically, mentally, emotionally, and mechanically. This is truly an event that isn't black and white. The Coca-Cola 600 is a race that boasts of a wide variety of different styles of races and finishes. This race truly has a different meaning for each driver, crew chief, and team, which makes it one of the most demanding races in all of NASCAR.
Unbelievable, guys.
That's a retaliation.
That was the hardest race emotionally I've ever run in my life.
NRF Productions presents the Coca-Cola 600 is demanding. So, what's the thing that makes the Coca-Cola 600 so special? Well, when you look at the tip of the iceberg, this is of course NASCAR's longest race. When the race was first incepted, Charlotte Motor Speedway founders Curtis Turner and Bruton Smith wanted an event to rival the Indianapolis 500. Now, what was their majestic idea? Instead of 500 miles, their race would feature 600 miles. Thus, the World 600 was born. Historically, it is an event where short run times are rare. As of 2025, the 2016 race was the fastest race to be completed at just under 4 hours. Even then, it still eclipses the typical duration of a NASCAR race, which is a little over 3 hours. There are some races, like the 2025 Coca-Cola 600, where the race just never ended. The race's 22 cautions are the most in a single NASCAR Cup Series race. When Jimmie Johnson completed lap 400 and edged out Bobby Labonte, the race itself had long ellipsed a 5-hour runtime. With how long this race is, this is the biggest challenge when it comes to mastering the Coca-Cola 600. This race is typically a testament of durability. Can the team build a car and an engine that can withstand the wear and tear of 600 miles? This is also a test of a team's communication skills. Track conditions are ever changing in a 600-mile race. Even more so when the 600 became a day-to-night transition in 1993. What that created was a huge pendulum shift, and it also changed the approach of how drivers and teams approach this race. Some teams wanted to have the track position all day long and excel at the daytime. However, that approach might not work, especially if the team struggles to keep up with the track at night. Other teams would set themselves up for the end of the race. They see the first 200 laps as the ability to learn their car and just not make mistakes. You can't win the Coca-Cola 600 on lap 75, but you can certainly lose it. As long as they led that majestic lap 400, the history books wouldn't remember that they were 15th after the first 100 laps. Now, when it comes to the drivers themselves, this is NASCAR's hardest test both physically and mentally. In North Carolina, it gets really hot in late May. Drivers have to deal with less than ideal G-forces and hot cockpit temperatures for longer than they would in a normal race. The most physically daunting Coca-Cola 600 was the 29th iteration of the race. At race time, track temperatures were well over 300 degrees. The drivers truly felt like they were in a pressure cooker, which was amplified even more as NASCAR was amidst a tire war. So for this race, the Hoosier tires were the softer, faster compound. The vast majority of the teams would choose to race this tire over the Goodyears in order to get the reward of winning the Coca-Cola 600. However, for this race, the risk in running the Hoosier tires was magnified by 1,000. Multiple drivers in this race suffered violent hits and even went to the hospital due to the Hoosier tires blowing out. Truly, no driver felt comfortable, even Dave Marcus, who was the only driver on Goodyear tires. Ironically, he would be involved in one of the most brutal wrecks of the entire race. Darrell Waltrip won his 4th Coca-Cola 600 that day, but he didn't celebrate it too much. Waltrip was quoted in saying that the race was the most emotionally and physically challenging that he'd ever run. I mean, just look into this man's eyes. This looks like someone that went down to Georgia and lost his soul to the devil. So the Coca-Cola 600 doesn't just physically tax the driver, but it can also mentally put you in a bad headspace to where it pits you against your morals and integrity. Chase Elliott has been one of the most vocal drivers on Gen 7 safety, especially after his teammate Alex Bowman got a concussion at Texas. 8 months later, in the 2023 Coca-Cola 600, in one split second, Chase Elliott made the decision to right rear hook Denny Hamlin head on into the wall. Now, as a toxic Chase Elliott fan, this is all propaganda. Chase did nothing wrong. Clearly, by this picture, Brad 100% hooked Chase into Denny. Okay, all seriousness, this was just one example of how mentally demanding the Coca-Cola 600 can be. So while the Coca-Cola 600 can bring the worst out of even a NASCAR champion, it is also a race where the cream can rise to the top. Many of NASCAR's greats didn't just win, but put on some of the greatest drives in their entire racing careers. Now, in racing, there are 2 ways that you can assert dominance. You can lap the entire field and/or lead every single lap of a race. Considering that this is NASCAR's longest race, a driver lapping the entire field has been achieved 8 times in the race's history. It was first done by Joe Lee Johnson in the inaugural World 600. Meanwhile, in the modern era, it has been done twice by both of the Petties, Richard in 1975 and Kyle in 1987. Now, when it comes to leading every single lap, as of 2025, no driver has yet to lead all 400 laps of the Coca-Cola 600. The closest that a driver got to perfection was Martin Truex Jr. in 2016. Unfortunately, his bid for a perfect race wasn't fulfilled since the cautions didn't fall at the opportune times. MTJ was forced to surrender the clean air twice due to pit cycles. Regardless, this is the most impeccable drive by Martin Truex Jr. in his entire racing career. His dominance on the track didn't just earn him the lifelong title as Coca-Cola 600 champion. At the time, this was only the 4th win in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Many would say that this style of domination in the 2016 Coca-Cola 600 helped propel Martin Truex Jr. to become a Cup Series champion and NASCAR Hall of Famer. MTJ was just one of the various other NASCAR Hall of Famers that would put on Blue Jacket-esque performances in this race. Richard Petty's 1975 victory was no exception, as it could be summed up by earth, wind, and fire. In that race, he was a shining star. However, winning the World 600 was even a challenge for NASCAR's winningest driver. It took over a decade for Petty to reach the crest of the World 600 mountain. The journey was brutal and treacherous, but that would make the moment where Petty finally reached the top even more special. So often the cream rises to the top in the Coca-Cola 600, but this is also a race where names are made. The World 600 is the race that future Cup champions David Pearson, Jeff Gordon, Bobby Labonte, and Matt Kenseth claimed as their first win. In 2009, David Reutemann and Michael Waltrip were lucky dogs, both of whom secured their first win as driver and car owner respectively due to a shower canceling the remainder of the race. I also find it cool that there were many moments where the red-headed stepchild of a racing family would get their triumph on the most iconic weekend in racing. The Mears name had been known for a high standard of excellence in racing. Stock cars seem to be the exception. Entering the 2007 Coca-Cola 600, Casey Mears had made 155 NASCAR Cup Series starts without a victory. Considering that he was racing for caliber organizations like Ganassi and now Hendrick, Casey was seen as the black sheep of the family. Fortunately, the Coca-Cola 600 is a race where all of those past failures can be erased at an instant. Albeit on fuel mileage, Casey Mears would continue the Mears family tradition by winning the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Day weekend. Surely, the wise words of Darrell Waltrip after the race would foreshadow the rest of Casey Mears' career.
1994, Jeff Gordon won his first race in the Coke 600. The next year, he won the Nextel Cup Championship. I see that written all over this kid.
While this was the only Cup Series victory of Casey Mears' NASCAR career, forever in stone it will be inscribed that Casey Mears won the Coca-Cola 600. Now, while history tends to not repeat itself, it does rhyme. Some thought that Austin Dillon driving the 3 was equivalent to spitting on Dale Earnhardt's grave. High levels of excellence were expected from Richard Childress' grandson, but they were not being met. 1 decade after Casey Mears' victory, again, another legacy name in racing would find his moment of triumph. Austin Dillon's breakthrough in 2017 didn't just give great satisfaction to a guy in New Hampton, New York.
Toyota!
Austin Dillon could officially dab on them haters as a forever champion of the Coca-Cola 600. Austin was the brawn of this win, while Justin Alexander was the brains. This victory in 2017 proves that the Coca-Cola 600 isn't just a race that can validate the driver. It also justifies NASCAR crew chiefs, not just in the money that they make, but also that they deserve a lot more respect when their driver goes to victory lane. There are several cases where it wasn't the fastest driver and the fastest car that won the race. Instead, it was the crew chief that made a gutsy call to stretch it on fuel, put their driver on fresh tires, or get them precious track position at the opportune time. Both Mears in 2007 and Austin Dillon in 2017 crossed the finish line on fumes to win their races and steal it from the favorites. As for the 1994 Coca-Cola 600, the confidence of the two teams was sky high. It seemed like destiny that Penske was going to sweep Memorial Day Sunday in the United States. Nobody was stopping Rusty Wallace driving his most dominant chassis Midnight on pure pace. However, sophomore crew chief Ray Evernham refused to lose. On the race's final green flag pit stop, he chose to give his driver the clean air and track position. It was gutsy, but as it turned out, the number 2's great handling would be no match for the clean air that the 24 had in the final run of the race. Jeff Gordon's victory in the 1994 Coca-Cola 600 would spark a trend. There would always be a rainbow to push away the midnight storm. 1997 was deja vu. Rusty took 4, Jeff got the track position, Jeff Gordon wins. 1998 would be the Uno reverse card, as Rusty Wallace would have the 2 tires in track position. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon would have the grip and handling unmatched by 4 brand new Goodyear tires. Despite Rusty being in the hypothetical ideal position, the result was unchanged. Now, weirdly enough, the Miller number 2 team would get one back from the old 24 team in the 2020 Coca-Cola 600. Chase Elliott, with Jeff Gordon's old team, was 2 laps away from winning his first ever Crown Jewel race. However, a tire issue by his own teammate, ironically the 24 car, led to a decision that will forever haunt crew chief Alan Gustafson. The Alan Gustafson special of 4 in fuel proved to be the losing call for Chase Elliott. Meanwhile, Brad Keselowski won his first and, as of 2025, only Coca-Cola 600 in Miller Lite's final race. That was fascinating, in addition to the fact that this over 5-hour race, which is one of the longest in NASCAR history, was deciding in its closing moments. And it's not like this was the exception. It has been normal throughout World Coca-Cola 600 history for the race to go down to its closing mile or closing tenth of a mile. For example, the 4th running of the World 600 was Junior Johnson's to lose. Johnson left it all on the track that afternoon, especially considering that he wanted some vengeance for missing the Indy 500. Junior Johnson looked to make NASCAR history, which he would on that afternoon. Just 4 miles from victory, Johnson's car had issues that relegated him to a 2nd place finish. Today, Johnson holds the record for most laps led in a single World 600 without securing the victory. Within a span of a minute in NASCAR's longest race, NASCAR history changed forever. Fred Lorenzen won his first World 600 and would retire as a 2-time champion of the race. For Junior Johnson, he would get vengeance in the fall, but he would never win the World 600 as a driver. The 1963 running is one instance of history being rewritten at the blink of an eye. When it comes to changing history, Kevin Harvick is the poster child of stealing Coca-Cola 600s. They don't call him the closer for nothing, and his 2 Coca-Cola 600 victories are no exception. Now, I want to analyze the 2011 edition a little more. 3 drivers in this race led more than 50 laps: Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, and Kyle Busch. Their dominance wasn't rewarded, with all of them finishing outside the top 10. Instead, this Coca-Cola 600, NASCAR's longest race, would be decided by an economy run. For Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Letarte, they were one of the teams looking to stretch out that last gallon of fuel. On the last lap of the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had the lead, and he had thousands of fans on their feet. They were about to witness Dale Earnhardt Jr. break his 3-year-long winless streak in one of the most epic ways possible. However, like at Indy, the National Guard car would surrender the lead on the final corner of the race. Kevin Harvick would go on to win, giving him a total of 2 laps led in the 2011 Coca-Cola 600. Lap 345, and the one that paid all of the money, lap 400. As of 2025, Kevin Harvick's 2 laps led in this race is the least amount by a winner of the Coca-Cola 600. This is just a testament that NASCAR's longest race can often come down to the final seconds. The thing that stuns me the most is that even the longest Coca-Cola 600 in history produced the race's closest finish. Instances like 2005 just adds more allure to the Coca-Cola 600. Theoretically, the Coca-Cola 600 should be black and white. There should be multiple instances of the best driver and the best team just straight up dominating on a given afternoon. However, in NASCAR's longest race, it seems like anything and everything can happen. It doesn't matter if you're a veteran or rookie, taking 4 tires or staying out, or being dominant on a given afternoon or a late race closer. The only thing that's certain is that you lead lap 400, but even in modern NASCAR, that isn't black and white with NASCAR overtime. This race is truly the Swiss Army knife of crown jewel races. In every way, the Coca-Cola 600 is demanding, and that is why it has the prestige of being such a special race on the motorsport calendar.